The city glowed under the blanket of night, neon signs flickering across the bustling streets. Inside the towering hotel, the annual company gala was in full swing. Laughter echoed off crystal chandeliers, the sound of clinking glasses blending with the jazz band playing in the corner. Employees mingled in suits and gowns, each one trying to impress, to be noticed by the woman at the center of it all, Vanessa King. Vanessa wasn't just any boss. She was the CEO, young, powerful, and breathtakingly beautiful. Tonight, she wore a glittering red dress that seemed to make the whole ballroom revolve around her. People whispered her name with awe and a hint of fear. She had built her empire on discipline and intelligence, never showing weakness, never letting anyone come close enough to see her vulnerabilities. And then there was Ethan Williams. He wasn't dressed to impress. His blazer was simple, his shoes polished but old, his face tired yet kind. At 32, life had carved responsibility into his every movement. He stood at the edge of the crowd, holding a glass of water, watching. He wasn't here to network or climb the ladder, he was here because it was mandatory. His heart, as always, was with his daughter Lily, who was waiting at home with the neighbor. Ethan had learned long ago not to get carried away by parties or late nights. He had once been reckless, carefree, until tragedy struck. His wife, Emily, had died in a drunk driving accident when Lily was just a baby. That single moment had shattered his world, forcing him to rebuild it piece by piece for the sake of his daughter. Since then, alcohol was not a temptation, it was a reminder. As the night dragged on, Ethan noticed the champagne glass in Vanessa's hand never stayed empty. She laughed louder, her steps less steady, her sharp eyes beginning to blur. Her usual commanding aura was slipping away, replaced by the raw truth of a woman who had been carrying too much for too long. Her assistants had already disappeared, the chauffeur nowhere in sight. Most employees turned away, eager to escape before being asked for help. Ethan stayed. Something inside him whispered that leaving her alone tonight would be wrong. When the party ended, Vanessa stumbled toward the grand entrance, her heels clicking unevenly on the marble floor. She nearly tripped, catching herself on the doorway. Ethan stepped forward, his voice gentle. "Ma'am, do you need a ride?" She turned, eyes glassy, trying to focus. "Williams, the single dad, right?" Her words slurred slightly. "Yes," Ethan said simply. "Let me drive you home. It's late. It's not safe." Her pride flared even in her drunken state. "I don't need your help. I have drivers, cars, everything." "Not tonight. You don't," Ethan replied, his tone calm but firm. He held out his hand. "Please, trust me." For a long moment, Vanessa stared at him as if weighing the risks. Then, with a frustrated sigh, she allowed him to guide her to his car. The sight of his vehicle made her scoff. "This, you drive, this." Ethan smiled faintly. "It gets me where I need to go." He helped her into the passenger seat, carefully fastening her seatbelt as she muttered complaints under her breath. Once the car pulled onto the road, the city lights reflected in her tired eyes. She leaned her head against the window, words spilling out between sighs. "You know what it's like, Williams. Everyone thinks success is glamorous. They think power makes you invincible. But it's lonely. No one sees you, they only see the position. The CEO, not the woman." Ethan kept his eyes on the road. "I think everyone has their battles. Some just hide them better than others." She looked at him, surprised by his answer. "And what's your battle?" He hesitated, hands tightening. "On the wheel. I lost my wife. Drunk driver. Since then, my battle is making sure my daughter grows up safe, with someone who'll never let her down." Vanessa's drunken haze softened. For the first time, she saw him not as an employee, but as a man marked by pain yet refusing to surrender to it. The car ride stretched in silence, broken only by the hum of the engine and the faint sound of the city outside. When they reached her penthouse, Ethan parked and walked her inside. The luxury was overwhelming compared to his modest apartment, but he didn't linger. He guided her to the couch, poured a glass of water, and set it on the table. "You'll feel better after this," he said gently. She blinked at him, her pride stripped away. "Why are you helping me? You could just leave. You could laugh about this tomorrow with the others." "Because I know what it's like when no one's there," Ethan replied. "Good night, ma'am." And then he left quietly, never asking for anything in return. The next morning, sunlight streamed through Vanessa's massive windows. Her head throbbed, but her memory returned piece by piece. The party, the drinks, the stumbling, and then Ethan. His steady hand, his quiet voice, the way he never judged. Shame washed over her. She had shown weakness, and he had protected her dignity. At the office later that day, she called him in. He walked in nervously, unsure if he was in trouble. Vanessa didn't bark orders this time. Instead, she looked at him with uncharacteristic softness. "Williams, thank you for last night." He nodded awkwardly. "Just doing the right thing." "No," she said firmly. "You went beyond that. You reminded me of something I forgot, that kindness is rarer than power. You didn't take advantage. You didn't gossip. You respected me even when I couldn't respect myself." For the first time, Ethan saw the cracks in her armor, and he respected her more for them. From that day on, Vanessa treated him differently. She asked about his daughter. She listened to his opinions in meetings. Slowly, employees noticed their CEO changing, not softer, but more human. Ethan, too, carried a new understanding. Even those who seemed to have everything may be fighting loneliness greater than his own. Months later, one evening after work, Ethan and Vanessa walked out together. The air was crisp, the city bathed in the warm colors of sunset. She hesitated, then reached for his hand. He looked at her in surprise but didn't pull away. As they walked side by side, something unspoken passed between them, a bond born not of status or power, but of trust, respect, and quiet compassion.